actually started as a saleswoman for Malone.
Interesting.
But she went on to found her own wildly successful company and became a millionaire in her own right.
Wow. So their relationship must have been pretty complicated.
I mean, imagine that. You know, you start working for someone, you learn the ropes, and then you branch out on your own and become even more successful.
Welcome to Witter, Who Has Time to Read, the podcast that brings deep dives for busy minds. Listen to AI hosts Jane and Dane and get ready to unpack the world's most captivating books in just a fraction of the time. Whether commuting, working out, or just squeezing in a quick break, we deliver key insights, thought-provoking themes, and takeaways you can carry into your day. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Plus, use our links in the description to purchase this book. Your support helps us bring more engaging book discussions to you. Listen and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Who has time to read? You do, with Witter.
Welcome back to Witter. You know, your shortcut to those deep dives for busy minds.
You got it.
And in honor of Black History Month.
Yeah.
We are going to be continuing our Black Voices series.
Absolutely.
With a look at Black fortunes.
Oh, yeah.
The story of the first 6 African Americans who escaped slavery and became millionaires by Shomari Wills.
Mm-hmm.
Even the title alone just makes you rethink what you thought you knew about Black history in America, doesn't it?
It really does, you know? I think so often we focus on the struggles, which are, of course, incredibly important to understand.
Absolutely.
But this book kind of flips the script a little bit and reveals this hidden history of Black achievement and entrepreneurship. Yeah. It's really a story of resilience and innovation against all odds.
I was going to say, these individuals amassed incredible wealth from the mid-1800s to the early 1900s during a time of intense racism and segregation.
Absolutely.
You'd think their stories would be much more well-known.
Right.
But so many of these figures have been overlooked or forgotten.
Completely agree, yeah.
Why is that?
I think it's because it challenges our assumptions about Black history and economic empowerment.
Totally.
And I think sometimes those narratives are a bit easier to digest than the ones that are a little bit more complex and go against the grain.
We're going to meet some remarkable individuals today in this deep dive, folks.
Oh, absolutely.
Mary Ellen Pleasant, Robert Reed Church, O.W. Gurley, Hannah Elias, Annie Turnbo-Malone, and Madam C.J. Walker.
Yeah, it's an incredible lineup.
So are you ready to dive into this hidden history with me?
I'm so ready.
Okay, great.
Let's do it.
Let's start with William Leinsdorf.
Okay.
Now, his story is particularly fascinating because he was a mixed-race man passing as white in New Orleans.
That's right.
He was even engaged to be married. And when his fiance's father discovered his Black heritage, the engagement was broken off.
Yeah, devastating.
Wow, can you imagine the heartbreak and betrayal that he must have felt?
Oh, absolutely.
You know, it just speaks volumes about the deeply ingrained racism of the time.
Yeah, the casual cruelty is just really striking in the story. And
so what did he do?
Well, devastated, obviously.
Yeah.
Leinsdorf left New Orleans and decided to head to Mexican California to start a new life. And he found success in shipping and ultimately became a major landowner in San Francisco.
Wait, so he's potentially the first Black millionaire in America.
That's right, yeah.
But his fortune was built on concealing his true identity.
Sadly. Yeah.
It makes you wonder, was that the only path to success for someone like him in that era?
It's a tragic compromise, isn't it?
It is.
And it really speaks to the difficult choices that so many Black Americans faced during that time.
Absolutely.
You know, what do you do when the world tells you that you have to be someone else in order to succeed? It's such a heavy burden to carry.
Now, from this hidden figure, Wills takes us to a much more well-known name. Frederick Douglass. We all know about his incredible work as an abolitionist.
Absolutely.
But Black Fortunes highlights a specific moment, his impactful speech in Nantucket.
Yes, the speech that really ignited the abolitionist movement.
Yeah.
And you know what's fascinating is that there was this young Black woman in the audience that day named Mary Ellen Pleasant. And she was so moved by Douglass's words that she dedicated her life and her considerable fortune to the cause of freedom.
It's incredible how one speech can have such a profound impact.
Right.
So tell me more about Mary Ellen Pleasant. Where did her wealth come from?
Well, she was raised by Quaker shopkeepers.
Okay.
So she actually had this really unique experience of being exposed to both black and white worlds from a young age.
Oh, interesting.
And she was incredibly sharp.
Yeah.
Had a knack for business. Later on, she even became involved with John Brown.
Oh, wow.
The radical abolitionist. Wills describes her as this kind of shadowy figure who was moving behind the scenes, financing the raid on Harper's Ferry.
Wow.
She was truly willing to put everything on the line for the cause.
That's a level of commitment and courage that's hard to even fathom.
I know. It's incredible.
So we're going to talk more about some other figures, obviously.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I'm just curious about something.
Sure.
Both Leidesdorff and Pleasant achieved success in very different ways. But they both faced the realities of racism and had to make really difficult choices.
Yeah.
What do you think this says about the broader Black experience during that time?
You know, I think it highlights the diversity of experience, right? Yeah. And the constant navigation of a society that was fundamentally unequal.
Yeah.
And, you know, for some, like Leidesdorff, passing as white might have seemed like the only viable option for others, like Pleasant.
Yeah.
It was about using their resources to fight for justice and equality. But I think ultimately their stories demonstrate the resilience and the determination of Black Americans to carve out a space for themselves and create a better future. All right, so let's move on to Robert Reed Church now.
Okay.
His story is going to take us to the heart of the Civil War and Reconstruction era.
Yeah.
Church was born enslaved, but he had this very unique situation because his father was a white steamboat captain who afforded him certain privileges.
That's a complex dynamic.
It really is.
It really illustrates the tangled web of race and power.
Absolutely.
In the antebellum South. So how did he end up becoming a millionaire?
Well, Church was working on his father's ships when the Civil War broke out.
Okay.
He actually witnessed the Battle of Memphis firsthand.
Can you imagine?
Oh my gosh.
The chaos and terror of that experience?
Yeah.
I can only try.
So much happening.
It must have been terrifying.
And you know, think about it.
Yeah.
He's a young man. He's essentially trapped in this conflict.
Right.
And the stakes couldn't be higher.
And what happened to him during the battle?
So as Union forces attacked, Church made a daring escape.
Oh, wow.
He jumped overboard, swam to freedom, and eventually sought out his father for support in starting a new life.
Talk about resilience.
I know.
In the face of danger.
It's an incredible
story of survival.
It is.
Risk everything for a chance at freedom.
Yeah, the sheer determination.
Okay, what did he do once he reached safety?
He wasted no time, you know.
Okay.
Despite facing intense racism in Reconstruction era Memphis, he opened several businesses, became a successful landlord. There's even an account of him facing down a lynch mob that attacked his home.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he was...
Wow, so he was not only a savvy entrepreneur, but also incredibly brave.
I mean, talk about courage.
His story kind of echoes Mary Ellen Pleasant's experience in California, right?
Yes.
Where she used her wealth to support the Black community and fight for justice. Exactly.
It's like this recurring theme of Black entrepreneurs understanding that economic power could be a tool for social change.
Right, absolutely.
They weren't just focused on individual success. They were investing in their communities.
Yeah.
And building a foundation for future generations.
It's a powerful legacy to leave behind, isn't it?
It is.
It's not just about accumulating wealth.
Right.
It's about using that wealth to uplift others.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
It just shows a deep understanding of the interconnectedness of economic empowerment and social progress.
I completely agree.
Now, as we kind of move into the late 1800s, early 1900s, we see the rise of Jim Crow laws.
Right.
Right. How did this impact the stories of Black entrepreneurs?
Well, it's a tragic reality that this period of intensified segregation actually fueled the growth of Black-owned businesses and towns.
So even in the face of oppression, Black communities found ways to thrive.
It was a matter of necessity.
And create opportunities for themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. When you're excluded from the mainstream, you have to create your own spaces. And that's exactly what they did.
And a prime example of this is O.W. Gurley.
Yes,
right?
A visionary entrepreneur who helped establish the all-Black town of Langston, Oklahoma.
That's fascinating.
Isn't it?
I've never even heard of Langston.
A lot of people haven't.
What was the driving force behind its creation?
it was this beacon of hope, right?
Okay.
For Black people across the South.
Okay.
Who were drawn to Langston's promise of escaping the violence and discrimination of Jim Crow and building a new life on their own terms.
I can see why it held such appeal, yeah.
It represented a chance for true self-determination.
Absolutely.
And, it wasn't just about escaping oppression.
Right.
It was about creating something new, something better.
And speaking of creating opportunities, this era also saw the rise of the beauty industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Tell me about Annie Turnbo-Malone.
Annie Turnbo-Malone was a remarkable woman.
Yeah.
A true pioneer in hair care.
Okay.
Developing products and techniques specifically for Black women.
Yeah.
And, she really understood the power of recognizing an underserved market.
Okay.
Creating solutions.
Yeah.
And building wealth from the ground up.
That's a classic entrepreneurial story.
It is.
But with the added layer of empowering Black women to embrace their natural beauty.
Yeah, it's about more than just products.
Didn't she also use a unique sales approach?
You're right.
With that?
She used a door-to-door strategy.
Oh, interesting.
Building personal relationships with her customers.
Like the original social network marketing.
It was brilliant marketing for the time.
But with a much deeper purpose, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't just about selling a product. It was about building community and trust.
Absolutely.
It's amazing how she was able to create such a successful business model while also empowering other Black women.
Yeah, she really understood the importance of lifting as you climb.
So how does Madam C.J. Walker fit into all of this?
Oh, yes.
I know she also became a hair care icon, right?
She did.
During that time.
And her story is actually intertwined with Malone's.
Okay.
Walker actually started as a saleswoman for Malone.
Interesting.
But she went on to found her own wildly successful company.
Okay.
And became a millionaire in her own right.
Wow. So their relationship must have been pretty complicated.
I mean, imagine that. You start working for someone.
Yeah.
You learn the ropes.
Yeah.
And then you branch out on your own.
Yeah.
And become even more successful.
Yeah.
There's bound to be some tension there.
So it was. Okay.
Yeah, there was definitely competition.
Yeah.
There was tension. But ultimately, both women played a significant role in shaping the beauty industry.
Okay.
And empowering Black entrepreneurs.
It's not always about a single hero narrative, right?
Yeah.
Often it's the collective efforts
of
many individuals that drive progress and change.
And their legacies continue to inspire to this day.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
Now, I know we focused a lot on entrepreneurship, but Black Fortunes also highlights the story of Hannah Elias.
Yes.
Right? A socialite who inherited her wealth.
Right.
What can we learn from her experience?
Well, I think her story reminds us that even with wealth, Black Americans were not immune to the prejudices and injustices of the time.
Right.
Elias faced scandal, she faced legal troubles, and it really highlights the precariousness of wealth.
Yeah.
And the persistent challenges of navigating a society that was steeped in racism.
So it's a reminder that even within the Black community, there were diverse experiences.
Oh, absolutely.
From rags to riches stories to inherited fortunes.
Yeah.
Each individual had to forge their own path.
Yeah, there's no single narrative.
But unfortunately, some of those paths were tragically cut short.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking specifically about the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. How does that event fit into the narrative of Black fortunes?
It's a devastating chapter in American history.
Yeah.
And it serves as this really stark reminder of the fragility of progress and the ever-present threat of white supremacist violence.
The Tulsa Massacre destroyed O.W. Gurley's thriving Greenwood district.
I know, it's heartbreaking.
Wiping out decades of Black progress and wealth in a matter of hours.
Yeah, it's a wound that still hasn't fully healed.
It's heartbreaking to think about all that was lost.
Yeah.
With the lives, the businesses, the sense of community.
The dreams, the aspirations.
What lessons can we draw from this tragedy? Not just in the context of Black history, but for society as a whole.
I think it forces us to confront the ongoing legacy of racial violence and the systemic inequalities that persist to this day.
Right.
And, it's not about dwelling on the past, but it's about learning from it.
Yeah.
And working towards a more just and equitable future.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
It's a reminder that the fight for justice and equality is far from over.
Black Fortunes has really opened my eyes to this hidden history of Black achievement and resilience.
It's an important story to tell.
But it also underscores the ongoing struggle for true equality.
Yes, yeah.
It's not just a celebration.
Right.
It's a call to action.
Absolutely,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear, like, your final thoughts on Black Fortunes.
Yeah.
What message do you hope listeners will take away from this deep dive?
I hope they'll be inspired by the incredible resilience and ingenuity of these individuals. Yeah. But I also hope they'll be challenged, right?
Right.
To confront the systemic barriers that still exist and to actively work towards creating a more just and equitable world.
It's not enough to just read about it.
Right, exactly.
Right. It's about taking action.
It's about making a difference.
These stories remind us that Black history is American history. Mm-hmm. And it's a history that deserves to be celebrated.
Absolutely.
Remembered and learned from.
I couldn't agree more.
Well said.
Thank you.
Now, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a few questions to ponder.
Okay, I like it.
What other hidden figures deserve to be rediscovered?
That's a great question.
Whose stories have been overlooked or forgotten?
Yeah.
And how can we apply the lessons of resilience and entrepreneurship to the challenges we face today?
I think those are questions worth thinking about, not just during Black History Month.
Right.
But all year round.
All year round, absolutely.
Yeah. And, as we wrap up our deep dive into Black Fortunes, I want to challenge our listeners to seek out more works by Black authors.
Absolutely.
There are so many incredible stories waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
Stories that can enrich our understanding of history, culture, and the human experience.
Reading diverse voices just broadens our perspectives. It helps us connect with the world in a deeper way.
It does, yeah.
It's a small but powerful step.
It is.
Towards fostering greater empathy and understanding.
And, by supporting Black authors, we're not just expanding our own knowledge.
Right.
We're also contributing to a more inclusive literary landscape.
Right.
Where diverse voices can thrive.
I couldn't agree more.
So let's make a conscious effort
to
seek out these stories.
So as we wrap up this episode of Witter, I hope you'll join us in celebrating Black voices.
Absolutely.
And supporting Black authors, not just during Black History Month, but all year round.
All year round, that's right.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep those minds busy and curious.
And keep diving deep, everyone.